All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to The Explainer, where we take these really fascinating psychological concepts and break them down so you can actually understand and use them in your everyday life. Today, we're exploring something deeply relatable, intensely human, and honestly kind of hilarious if you step back from it: how we handle public embarrassment. We're going to look at exactly why we react the way we do, what it's secretly costing us psychologically, and what true confidence actually looks like. I am so excited to guide you through this, so let's get started. Okay, we all know there's a very specific kind of human being out there. I mean, let's be real, it's probably you. I know it's been me. It's the person who trips on a perfectly flat sidewalk in public, almost falls headfirst into another dimension, regains their balance with the sheer, frantic athleticism of a frightened deer, and then immediately pretends that absolutely nothing happened. They'll straighten their shirt, they'll casually check their phone, they might even give this little nod like, yep, meant to do exactly that, totally planned. Meanwhile, internally, their soul is currently hovering about 30 feet behind them, still lying face down on the concrete. That whole performance, acting completely normal after a wildly embarrassing public moment, is literally one of the most psychologically fascinating things that we humans do.
And this perfectly sets up the core mystery we really need to solve today. Why do we do it? Why on earth do we pretend absolutely nothing happened when you trip or spill a coffee all over yourself or enthusiastically wave at someone who was definitely 100% not waving at you? Why is our immediate overriding instinct to completely control the narrative and play it totally cool? Well, to understand this, we've got to look pretty closely at what embarrassment actually is.
See, embarrassment isn't just some fleeting emotion. It's exposure. It is the sudden, genuinely terrifying realization that other people just witnessed you being imperfect in real time. Because humans, despite us pretending otherwise pretty much all the time, are deeply, fundamentally built around social perception. We care what people think, far more than most of us are ever willing to admit. And that is exactly why embarrassment feels so fiercely physical. Your stomach drops, your face flushes hot, and your nervous system just lights up like a car alarm. Your brain is essentially treating a minor moment of social humiliation as an actual, literal survival threat.
Now, I know treating embarrassment as a survival threat sounds a bit traumatic, right? Until you look at our evolutionary biology. For most of ancient human history, social rejection actually could threaten your survival. Being excluded from the group meant you were in literal physical danger. Then you look at early life. Many of us grew up in environments where showing vulnerability just felt unsafe, where we were maybe mocked for emotional reactions or just told to toughen up. So, fast forward to present day. Your nervous system is still carrying around all this old programming. It still reacts to public embarrassment like something deeply serious just went down, even if literally all you did was confidently wave back at a total stranger. Devastating, for sure, but your body reacts with pure, unadulterated survival panic.
Which brings us to Section 1, Composure as Controlled Panic.
When that panic hits, some people immediately switch right into performance mode. Psychologically, this reaction is pure damage control. Your brain instantly asks, okay, how bad did that look? On the outside, we see this perfectly curated external performance. Because people take emotional cues from each other all the time. If you laugh naturally after spilling a drink, the whole room relaxes. We mirror energy, so acting normal can sometimes genuinely reduce the tension. But then there's the internal reality. Not everyone who acts calm actually feels calm. Actually, scratch that, most of them don't. Some people are internally disintegrating. Their nervous system has just adapted to conceal shame perfectly. Their internal monologue is just screaming, keep walking, do not react, act normal, oh my God.
And this is the absolutely crucial point of this whole explainer. Sometimes composure is just controlled panic. Some of the people who appear the absolute calmest in public are actually the most emotionally self-conscious privately. Because composure and confidence, they are not always the same thing. Socially intelligent people often become experts at this fake-it-till-you-make-it composure, realizing that awkward moments only get worse when the fear becomes visible, so they suppress the reaction completely. But that suppression, man, it comes with a heavy psychological cost.
We suppress our natural reactions to protect our invisible social identity. We are constantly, exhaustingly trying to protect the version of ourselves we hope other people see. We want to be the competent, attractive, funny, intelligent, likable, and totally normal version. Embarrassment temporarily puts a massive crack in that image, and for perfectionists especially, that crack feels totally unbearable. Because their self-worth is so tied to their presentation, an embarrassing moment doesn't just feel a little awkward, it feels deeply threatening. It feels like hard evidence that they are foolish, weird, or completely losing control.
But because we suppress that embarrassment to protect our identity, the emotion doesn't just vanish, it relocates. It moves into the replay zone. You suppress the external reaction, right? But emotionally intense moments get stored so much more vividly by the brain. Your brain essentially archives your humiliation like it's highly important national history. And then comes the payoff, randomly reliving it years later. This is exactly why your mind loves to remind you of something incredibly weird you said back in the 8th grade, while you're just trying to sleep peacefully on a Tuesday night. People who act the most normal publicly are often secretly carrying around entire museums of private embarrassment internally.
Moving on to Section 2, the social media factor.
As if managing our invisible social identity wasn't already exhausting enough, the modern environment we operate in has drastically changed how we process humiliation. Social media has taken the fear of exposure and basically put it on steroids. Embarrassing moments don't just exist temporarily in a vacuum anymore. Now, they can become permanent. They're recorded, they're shared, they're endlessly mocked publicly. We are way more self-conscious today than ever before because we are constantly forced to imagine ourselves through the lens of other people's eyes. It creates this immense, crushing pressure to always appear composed, funny, and completely unbothered, even while you might be internally falling apart.
So, how do we cope with all this pressure? By curating our vulnerability. We all claim to absolutely love vulnerability online, but let's be honest, what we really love is controlled, aesthetic, and completely safe vulnerability. Real-time embarrassment, on the other hand, that is unscripted, messy, and terrifying. Messiness terrifies people who have built their entire identity around being perfectly composed. So we overcompensate. If we trip, we suddenly act extra confident. If we get rejected, we pretend we didn't care at all anyway. It's pure emotional self-defense, because we absolutely hate the unscripted moments.
Let's shift gears to Section 3, the connection shift.
There is this profound truth that awkward people rarely realize, and it completely changes how we view human interaction. It's captured perfectly in this idea. Human interaction is basically a group of nervous systems pretending they're relaxed. I mean, isn't that just deeply reassuring? Most humans are way too consumed by their own insecurities to analyze your awkwardness nearly as deeply as you think they do. Everyone is protecting something. Everyone is managing impressions. Everyone is constantly recovering from their own weird little moments. The people who seem effortlessly confident haven't achieved some magical level of perfection. They've simply learned how to stop catastrophizing their embarrassment.
In fact, science actually tells us that a little embarrassment is good for you. It humanizes you. This is a real thing called the pratfall effect. Research shows that highly competent people often become way more likable after making small mistakes. And why is that? Because we naturally trust real humans more than we trust flawless performances. When you have a random voice crack, when a joke totally fails, when you snort while laughing, it reminds the rest of us that you are a real person. We are strangely, powerfully drawn to those authentic, little messy moments.
So we land on this really beautiful irony. Perfection might impress people on the surface, but it actually creates distance. Imperfection is what builds trust and creates genuine connection. When you pretend to be flawless all the time, it's not just exhausting for you. Eventually, people aren't even connecting with you anymore. They're just connecting with the character you're performing. A lot of us learned to perform because being our authentic selves felt unsafe at some point, so we just became these emotionally edited versions of ourselves. But think about it. If nobody ever sees your embarrassment, nobody really gets to see you either.
So the big takeaway here is that we need to redefine what it actually means to be confident. Healthy confidence is not emotional suppression. Emotional suppression says, if anyone sees me be embarrassing, I will literally die. True confidence says, wow, that was incredibly awkward, but I'm okay. You really don't have to earn human acceptance by appearing flawlessly cool every single second of the day. You are allowed to stumble, to blush, and to be a little awkward. True confidence is simply surviving your embarrassment without abandoning yourself right afterward.
I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative thought. The very next time you feel the urge to execute a flawless, totally fake recovery, to pretend absolutely nothing happened while your heart is just pounding out of your chest, ask yourself this. Are people connecting with you or just the character you're performing? We are all just awkward creatures pretending otherwise. So try being just a little gentler with the version of yourself that thought one awkward moment made you unworthy of being seen. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.